Hey, this is Jonathan Potoshnik. The question is, what is an average or attainable net profit margin for the lawn care business? So this isn't a very easy question to answer. There are an incredible number of variables, and there's a lot of variance in this depending on the segment or the industry. So, for example, and actually there's a lot more to it than that. Net profit really can vary by the size of your entity or the size of your company and the different stages that you're in. So let's start there. So let's talk about that. So, for example, when it's just you getting started and you might have a couple. So let's use an example in this case of, um, let me say that irrigation, construction, landscape construction, hardscape, maintenance, residential versus commercial, pest control, all are going to have a different profit margin, potentially. In each industry, there's different levels of competition, there's different uh, constraints on price, there's different price norms, there's different norms in the way of net profit, different markets drive net profit, things of that sort. So ultimately, the goal is to try to get outside of those norms as much as you can. So, for example, if I were to tell you that in the landscape industry, the average net profit is 8%. So that means that if you make $1 million, you take home $80,000. That doesn't mean that you're only going to make 80,000. If you play by the rules and you do the things everybody else does, you're probably going to make 8%. And you may make a little more, you may make a little less. But if you want to play the game a little bit differently, you might have an opportunity to make 15% or 20% or 30%. I had a business, commercial lawn care maintenance business, and we made 50% net margin or 50% net for 2 years. So we made over six. We made it was a little. It was a little business. So this business was originally, my numbers are going to be off, but I want to say it was approaching $500,000. We had 3 crews. We only did commercial. Actually, at that time, we did just a few residential, larger residential. And to me, larger residential was 1 to 2, 3, 4 acres. And we had, I think, 3 crews. I can't remember how many workers. I want to say 9 to 11 workers and 3 trucks. We had a walk behind. We had 2 Skags, 2 big riders, zero radius riders, and we had push mowers and such. So that was kind of the structure of the business. And we did a little bit of marketing. We had, we had some overhead expenses and such. So, long story short, what happened here, and this is all getting to a point, we weren't making a lot of money, or I don't even know what our net profit was, but it wasn't very good. I was personally taking, I want to say 40,000 out of that business. And I don't think there was much money, additional money being taken out. So I may have been the only person making any money. It might have, other than obviously paying the employees. So I want to say I was making around 40 grand. And during the course of that time, we paid off the trucks, we paid off the equipment, and it was really an annoying business. I had other businesses at the same time. I was making far more money with those companies, and this business was taking a lot of my time. There was a lot of reasons I was annoyed. There was a lot of things I was doing wrong. I had a lot of lessons to learn at that time. But one day we got smart, and one day we went through and we said, this isn't worth it. We either need to close this business down, it's not worth my time, or we need to fix it. So what we did is we started thinking about who are our very best clients, who makes us the most money, who are our best employees, who's the easiest to work with, who are the most productive. We went through and got rid of all the employees but 3. I believe it was 3, and we got rid of all the accounts, but and just enough to gross us just over 200,000 a year, and I believe 225, and were easy to deal with. So they were the properties that were easy to maintain. The clients never called. They liked us. It was a great relationship. We got rid of everything else. We fired all the other clients, fired all the other employees. So at this point, all of our trucks are paid for. We sold off what wasn't paid for, and we were left with all paid for equipment, with backup equipment, all paid up for trucks. Everything was paid for. So we had one decent truck and one inexpensive backup truck. Everything's paid for, 100% debt free. We have 3 employees, pay one of the workers $700 and something a week. and then we pay the other two salary of, I don't know what the amount was. So we grossed well over 200,000 with one crew. I believe it was 3 people, and we net somewhere between 100 and 125. I don't remember the exact numbers now out of that business. Meaning we literally took that money home, and so it wasn't gross profit; it was true net profit. So 50% net on that business. So huge variance. I just told you about an example where there's a lot of construction businesses making 8%. I was involved in a very large 8-figure a year company where we made a net profit of under 10% a year. We had very large contracts from 30 to 100 plus $1,000 per contract each, and there was so much competition in that field that we made less than a 10% net margin. You hear about that a lot in the landscape construction business. I just gave you an example though of a commercial lawn care business where we're making over 50%. So you can hear numbers that vary wildly depending on who you talk about or talk to. So if I just left the story as is in terms of what I just told you about making 50% net margin, you'd say, wow, the lawn care business is the greatest business ever invented. Those margins are better than Microsoft. This is unbelievable. And you would go tell other people in the industry, this guy in the lawn care business makes 50% net profit on everything he does. He's incredible. And they would say, you're an absolute liar. That's impossible. Well, it would probably be impossible in the long term, but there were a lot of factors that went into that. And there are a lot of guys making really, really good margins living in the middle. So let me explain what I mean by the middle. So I'm kind of jumping around here, but I hope this all comes together.